This is the Tech Phantom, and welcome to episode 10 of this Dark Souls No Shield Bow Only playthrough. And in this episode, we are finally going to go into Anor Londo and have a talk with Smough and Ornstein, Fat and Slim, and we are going to see how many tries it's going to take us to take on those two characters without a shield, with only a composite bow. And just to make it more fun, I'm not going to use power within, and I'm also going to stick to my strategy of not kindling any bonfires. And because I'm going to be starting from this bonfire here, I will not have 10 Estus flasks. I'm only going to have 5 Estus flasks. So just to make it a little bit more challenging, that's how we're going to try to take on Smough and Ornstein. In this episode too, you are going to get my take on the Black Knight archers or the Silver Knight archers that guard the way forward into Anor Londo. And this can be one of the most frustrating parts of the game. And there are a couple of cheese strategies that you can use with the bow. One is to use the poison arrows, and that's essentially buying the poison arrows from the female merchant and poisoning the silver knights, silver knight archers, and waiting until they die. And that is a very time-consuming cheese strategy. The other strategy that you can use is to use a great bow. But at this point, we don't even have a great bow, so that doesn't even that's not even an option to us. So what I'm going to show you guys is the last cheese strategy for the knights that I actually found in a walkthrough. I think maybe it was in one of Vegeta's walkthroughs, and he's got some awesome walkthroughs. It was either that or it was in a speed run that I saw in a video, and I think this is one of the coolest ways to get through the through the Silver Knights. But essentially, what you need to do is you need to stand so that the angle of them to you is going, when they attack, they're going to fall off. So it can't be an angle where they're going to be on solid footing. It has to be an angle where they're going to go past the ledge a little bit and they're going to fall off. So you guys saw my first attempt in the high speed, and I thought I was standing in the right spot and I thought I had the right angle, but I didn't. And the Silver Knight did his lunge attack and hit me, and I was actually startled and didn't know what to do, and I ended up going back a little bit and I got knocked off by his other buddy, by his other Silver Knight archer. But let's try it again. So now that I've explained that strategy to you guys, I think it's going to be a little bit more easy to understand when you see it on video. So I'm going to get hit a couple of times here, and yes, these guys are a pain in the ass the first time you go through. And there are my souls, so I'm going to get my souls. And now what I want to do is I want to avoid his attacks, and I want to stand right here, and you see that in order for him to get to me, if he's going to do his lunge attack, there was a little bit of a drop, and as he tried to go through it, he fell off. So the other strategy that you can use for these guys is obviously you can parry them, and you can actually parry them with an empty hand, and you could push him off as part of the parry animation, but I didn't think that was kosher for this walkthrough. I thought it'd be cooler to not parry them and to show you guys that little cheese strategy where you essentially take advantage of their dumb AI and you let them fall off. And I shouldn't say dumb AI, because overall I think Dark Souls has some pretty good AI, some pretty good programming of the enemies. So they're, for the most part, they're not super dumb. There are some situations where obviously you can take advantage of them and you can cheese them, but for the most part they're relatively smart. And that's one of the things that makes the game challenging, is the artificial intelligence that's been programmed into the enemies. So before we go and take on Smough and Ornstein, we are going to do a little bit of looting in Anor Londo. And if you break through that illusory wall and you drop down into this basement here, you are going to find a bunch of chests holding Howell's equipment. So I definitely want his armor because it has a ton of poise and it has really good protection. It happens to be extremely heavy, but we will use the armor at some point because it does give us a little bit of poise. And I'm going to kill this mimic here, and he's going to drop a club. I don't know why I'm going to pick it up here. There's absolutely no reason for me to pick it up. I'm not going to be making any use of it. I guess one thing that I did want to say too before I forgot is on the run up to the archers. I don't know if you saw it at the very beginning where it was sped up, but I did have Hobble's ring and the Darkwood grain ring. So I didn't have any poise. So in order to have poise, because I took off the wolf ring, in order to have poise, I put on as much of the stone set as I could. So I think that combination worked out pretty well. The stone set gave me poise and gave me defense. And obviously Hobble's ring allowed me to wear as much of the stone set as I could. And the Darkwood grain ring helped with evading the archer arrows as they were trying to plug me. Now I did get hit a couple of times, but for the most part the Darkwood grain ring has come in pretty handy, and that's the gear and the equipment that I used. And in case you guys were wondering why, I just wanted to explain it. So we are going to just poach these mimics a little bit more, and they drop some coins, and you can feed these coins to Frampt, and it's another little source of souls there. So if you wanted to get 1 or 2 levels for free, you can kill the mimics, pick up the coins, and feed them to Frampt, and you can get a couple of levels out of there. Alright, so spoiler alert here, guys, but I backed myself into a corner, and I didn't realize that the Silver Knight with the lance was going to chase me in here, and I'm going to try to parry my way out, but I had the glove equipped on my left hand, so I tried to do a parry with the glove and I failed. So that is how not to take on the Silver Knight with the lance with the bow. So you guys saw me doing a parry, making sure that I can do a parry. So I was trying to parry my way out of it when I got backed myself into a corner, but that didn't happen. So let's go get our souls. And then after that, I think we're going to be ready to take on Fat Boy and Little Slim and see what happens. So this the Silver Knight with the sword, he can actually be skipped altogether, and there is a shortcut of a jump up here that I will show you guys in a little bit. But here's the correct way, or at least the way that works a little bit better, to take on the Silver Knights with the spear. Now these guys happen to be a complete nightmare when you're taking them on with the bow. Actually, they can be really tough no matter what your gear is, and that's because they have so much range with that Silver Knight spear, and they put up their shield incredibly fast. They happen to put up their shield faster than some of the other Silver Knights. So you see that I'm trying to peg him while his shield is down, but he's putting it up so quickly that I can't really hit him. And I hit him 4 or 5 times where I was only doing 4 damage, which means that I was hitting his shield. So he happens to be a nightmare. Alright, so this is going to be, I guess, the Velveeta episode, because there's going to be some more cheese here. So let's take on this Prowling Demon. Now, it is a little bit tricky here, guys, but you can actually poach him from here. And the trick, and it took me a while to figure this out, is that you need to be in just the right spot so that your arrows go right through the handrail. Now, if I happen to be a couple of steps, 1 step in front or 1 step in back, the handrail will actually block the arrows. But if you find the right angle, you can actually get your arrows to go through, and you can poach this Prowling Demon. Now, there is another poaching spot, and that is downstairs in the door that leads to the Prowling Demon. You can stand by the door frame, and you can try to hit his knee that's exposed. But I actually like to try to poach him from up above because I think that's a little bit cooler. But be advised that it is a little bit difficult to get into that position where your arrows go through the handrail. So you may need to play around with the location and the angle to make sure that you can poach him from up above. And like I said, if you can't poach him from up above, no worries. You can get to his area, to his level, and go up to the door that leads to him. But make sure that you don't aggro him, and go into zoom in mode. And if you can get a little bit of his knee exposed or his leg exposed, you can just poach him in the leg. But I think it's cooler to poach him from up above. Okay, so we're gonna be spending a little bit more of my souls here. And I have a 10,000 soul of a hero equipped, and I don't know why I don't use that. And throughout this whole video, you're going to see that that soul is just going to sit there, and at the very end, I'm going to end up using it at the wrong time. So I was trying to do a little bit of min-max in here and trying to just spend the absolute least number of souls that I need in order to level up. And you know, I tend to be a little bit OCD about that, and then I end up getting frustrated at the very end, and I use up that soul of a hero when I absolutely didn't need to. And this is a little bit of a nervous repair of the equipment. I'm trying to get my mindset, trying to get ready for the Smough and Ornstein fight. Now, I've done this fight successfully with other test characters when I was doing a test run for this playthrough. So I know that I can take on Smough and Ornstein with only a composite bow and no shield, but I had 20 Estus flasks. So this is the first time that I'm going to take on these guys with 5 Estus flasks. And again, you see that I'm a little bit hesitant here because I went back and I picked up that Silver Knight sword, which I have absolutely no reason to do. And the reason is that I'm just thinking, oh boy, I'm going in there with 5 Estus flasks. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'll talk a little bit about the fight now. Like I said, I'm going in there with 5 Estus flasks. I'm not going to use Power Within. You can, and it actually makes the fight a little bit more of a risk reward, but you can do some huge amount of damage with Power Within. The other thing about this fight is that I want to kill Smough first. Now, the reason I want to do that is because if I kill Ornstein last, he is going to drop the Leo Ring. And the Leo Ring is absolutely critical for the bow because it will increase the damage that the arrows do on counters by a significant amount. And I just thought that it was, you know, it was absolutely a must for me to get both the Leo Ring and the Hawk Ring, which both affect and improve the damage that you can do with arrows and the range that you can do with bows and arrows. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about the fight here. So what I'm trying to do is I want to have both Ornstein and Smough in my sights. Unfortunately, I do have to be locked in because it's going to be difficult to hit these guys if you're not locked in. If you're using another weapon, you can actually fight this fight unlocked, and that's because, especially if you have a weapon that has a large hitbox, you don't need to lock in. You just need to be sort of close enough to the enemy so that you can hit them. But with the composite bow, with the bow, you need to be locked in order for your arrow to hit. So so let's talk about all of the things that went wrong in that boss fight, guys, because that was really a pathetic attempt. So I guess the biggest thing is that I was not doing enough damage. I think I only hit Smough a couple of times. Now, the other thing that I didn't do very successfully is that I ended up over dodging, and I would dodge 3 or 4 times, and instead of making sure that I dodged at the wrong times, I was hitting the dodge button, the roll button 2 or 3 times, and that cost me because I got hit by Ornstein's or by Smough's animation a couple of times. So I need to chill out a little bit the next time I take on these guys, and I think I'll be okay. So I'm not gonna worry about the Silver Knight this time. So I did the little jump shortcut without killing him first. And now let's go into this boss fight for our second attempt. So again, the strategy is going to be not to over dodge. So dodge once, don't spam the dodge button like I did in my first attempt. The other strategy is going to also be to try to have both Smough and Ornstein on my sights as much as I can. Now that's going to be complicated by the fact that I do have to be locked in order to hit these guys with the bow, which is not something that you need to do with another kind of a weapon. With another kind of a weapon, you could do the entire fight unlocked, and that makes it easier to keep an eye on both Ornstein and Smough. Okay, so my dodges are getting a little bit better. You saw that I dodged that Ornstein attack there, and the reason I did that is because I didn't spam the roll button. I wasn't freaking out. I was actually a little bit more relaxed, and I was dodging at the right times. So it looks like I'm doing quite a bit of damage with Smough and Ornstein. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get Ornstein to be behind Smough so that I can keep an eye on both of them. And I'm only going to attack Smough when Ornstein is not going to be doing a lunging attack at me. And so far I have half of Smough's life down, and I've only used 2 Estus flasks, so I only have 3 left. So I need to like start chipping away at Smough's health life, which I'm doing. And I finally got into a situation here where Smough or Ornstein is in back of Smough, and I can kind of see what the attack is going to be, so I know when to attack Smough. And there goes Smough, and now the only thing that's left now is Ornstein, or Super Ornstein. Now this happens to be this could be a very, very easy fight, guys, if you lock Ornstein into his lightning spear or lightning bolt animation. For some reason, when you're at this range, he will just keep on doing that animation over and over again. So we're gonna thank him very much for doing that. And again, like I said, this is gonna be the Velveeta episode, so we are going to just cheese him the rest of the way. And actually, this is a very common thing to happen after you defeat Smough. Taking Ornstein out with the bow is an absolute breeze, and that's because he's going to get locked into that animation, like I said, and then you can just keep chipping away at his life. And we got 50,000 souls, and in addition to that, we got the Leo ring. So now that we've gotten the Leo ring, we want to get the Hawk ring. And let me talk a little bit about the Leo ring and the Hawk ring while I go get the Lord Vessel here. I talked about the Leo ring. The Leo ring is a ring that increases the damage that thrust weapons do on counters. And arrows count as thrust weapons because they do thrust damage. So the Leo ring is going to absolutely help in a couple of situations, especially for boss fights. If you're wearing the Leo ring, and if you're able to hit the boss during a counter, you will score something like 40% more. You can do some huge damage with the Leo ring. So the other ring that is kind of cool to use for an archer is the Hawk ring. And the Hawk ring will not increase your damage directly per se, but what it will do is it will increase the range of your bow. So it will essentially allow your arrows to travel straighter. And there's a couple of different ways to increase another way to increase the range of the bow is to use feather arrows, and feather arrows travel further. And what that means from a mechanic standpoint is that the arrows are going to travel straighter, and you don't have to allow you don't have to either lead or you don't have to aim to the left or to the right of the enemy. You can actually put your crosshairs more directly on your enemy when you have the hawk ring, or when you have a bow with more range, or when you're using the a feather arrow. So since we're just going to use the composite bow here, when we put on the hawk ring, that's going to allow our arrows to travel further, and our range is going to go up to something like the equivalent of 50, and that will allow us to essentially not have to lead the enemies as much, and we'll also might be able to do a little bit more damage because the arrows are going to travel a little bit further. All right, but enough about the Leo ring and the Hawk ring. So let's take on a couple of these enemies. So what happens after I killed Wendelin? I'm sorry, after I killed Guinevere, or the illusion of Guinevere, is that Wendelin got pretty upset. His illusion has been destroyed, and he sends a couple of these Dark Moon Covenanters after us. Now, luckily, they're extremely slow, and I'm actually going to score a couple of counter hits on them. You can see that my normal attack is doing 160 hit them during
The as they're recovering, I'm actually doing 181 damage. So if I was wearing the Leah ring, that 181 damage would be more, would be more like 250 or 260. So significantly higher. So um, if you're doing PvP with the bow, you definitely want to wear the Leah ring. All right, so that was pretty easy. That wasn't too difficult. And again, that goes to what we've seen in this walkthrough, that with the composite bow, when we're taking on enemies that are heavily armored and are slow, the only thing we have to do is we have to wait for them to do their attack animation, and from a safe distance we can try to score a counter. And don't waste your arrows when they're blocking. Just bait them into an attack, take a couple of steps forwards, roll back, and quickly fire off an arrow, and you should be able to hit a counter. So we've also opened up the front main door to Anor Londo since we're here, and now we're gonna go get the Hawk Ring. And the Hawk Ring is located in a sort of a hidden chest that is by the giant blacksmith. So if you want to know how the Hawk Ring ended up there, I direct you to my walkthrough where I talk about lore, and we will also get that answer when we go into the downloadable content. All right, so you need to get close enough to the chest that you get the open prompt, and so I'm able to pick it up, and there's the Hawk Ring. So now I can truly say that I am a master bowman. I have the Leah ring and I have the Hawk ring. And if you guys want to make a really challenging playthrough, and I've tried it and it's actually quite a bit more challenging, why don't you try using the Hawk ring and the Leah ring at the same time, and not use, but as the only rings that you use. And that actually makes you would think that would make the playthrough a little bit easier. On the contrary, it actually makes it more difficult because it limits the armor that you can use. It actually prevents you from using the dark wood grain ring too. So you have to be a little bit more judicious about what armor you use because you need a little bit of poise. But if you guys are looking for some additional challenge to a bow only run with no shield, use nothing but the Leo ring and the Hawk ring, and I did that on the Tisk character. I was able to finish the game like that. It's pretty darn tough. So good luck, guys. If you think if you're looking for sort of the next level of challenge on a bow only walkthrough, try that. Use the Leo ring and the Hawk ring exclusively. Alright, so we are back in Firelink Shrine, and you guys saw me go over to Donal and buy some arrows, and also buy the box that will allow me to manage my inventory. So
That is going to do it for this video. I wanted to end up the end and at high speed because I was just doing a little bit of character maintenance here. So anyway, that is going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next episode, we'll be going into the Seat the Scaleless battle.